Good evening, rebels. Great to see you here in the briefing for the A12 blockade from 9 and 10 September and afterwards. Welcome, great that you be here. Tonight we're going to walk you through the plans we have for the blockade of the A12 to demand an end to fossil fuel subsidies. And I'm here with the amazing Denise. How are you?
I'm okay, how are you?
Yeah, fine, thank you.
Tense, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, me too. Yeah. And how are you, Mark?
I'm super impressed by this space with so many screens, and suddenly we're all like in a professional studio. So I'm amazingly excited, and I hope to contain myself to also bring the message, but I'm also having huge fun already sitting here.
Great. Mark will do the well-being and safety part, and Denise will do the legal part, of course, really important for our action. We have some things to discuss. First of all, I'm going to walk you through the action plan really short. What is the idea, what I'm going to do. Then we have Mark with the well-being and the safety part.
Yes.
Then the action plan, a little bit in broader perspective. What exactly are we going to do? And how does that sort of can go? And then the legal issues with Denise. You can ask questions. There's a chat bot in the bottom right corner of your screen. And you can also send messages by Telegram to @A12 briefing bot. @A12 briefing bot, or the chat in the bottom right corner of your screen. And there's a whole team trying to answer all of your questions if you have them. And we will discuss, if possible, some questions here with Mark and Denise. We're going to the first part now, and that is, what are we going to do? Hold on. Yes, the plan is really actually quite simple. We did it already 6 times at A12 in The Hague. We're going to walk onto the A12, September 9th, next Saturday at 12 o'clock, not earlier, 12 o'clock. And we walk to the so-called tunnelbak between the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate and the Parliament. And there we will stay until our demand has been met. And our demand is stop all fossil fuel subsidies immediately. And what is also really important, and this is a little bit different from the times before, that in case we are removed, we will be back the next day at 12 o'clock, and the next day and the day after, on and on, until our demand has been met. So that is actually the plan. Of course, there's a little bit more to tell about it, but we go to that later in this evening. If you have a broader question about fossil fuel subsidies or the campaign, go to A12Blockade.nl, and there you can find more information. And what is really important, that we have the same ideas about our action. We're going to break the law. We go into non-violent civil disobedience, so that we have. It's important that we have the same ideas about what that means. So I urge you to read the action consensus. You can find it on the Extinction Rebellion website. We will also share it later on the Telegram. And that's about the way we do actions. And the most important and the core of everything we do is that we're completely peaceful, completely non-violent. Then actually nothing can go wrong as long as we stay peaceful. So that's the most important. But just read through the action consensus. There's a summary here in the screen. Respectful to everybody, police, bystanders, authorities, everybody. And just stay safe. And what's also really important, this is a campaign that we do on the A12 about fossil fuel subsidies. So no other statement than fossil fuel subsidies. Of course, there's a lot more to say about it. But just keep that in mind if you make your banner, that this is the campaign for a stop to fossil fuel subsidies. This was my part. I'm going to Mark now.
Yes, we're going to talk about safety and well-being. As Lucas already said, safety is a core issue. We really want you to be safe yourself and we would really like everyone to take care of each other's safety. And well-being is a word that means that you are doing well, of course, and you could is often used in a comparison where climate activism is a marathon and not just a sprint. There's so much to do still. This will not be over in a day, maybe not in a week. We don't know how long it takes until fossil subsidies are stopped. We might be on the A12 for a very long time. So the general thing is to try to find a way of being active in actions that you can continue for quite some time. I also have to look a little bit on my papers in between, of course. We'll do a really big thing. To be on the A12 is a very, very disruptive action. It is even more disruptive than otherwise because we will be there. Probably many days. As long time as it takes to have the fossil subsidies stopped. That means that there's also a risk. There's uncertainty. We don't know what is going to happen on the street. We don't know how the police will respond, how the public will respond. We have never actually done it on this way, so we will learn this. But we can control one thing, and that is one's own action. You can control your own actions, what you do and how you behave on the street. That also is a very important part. You are responsible. We do this collectively with thousands of people, but you are an individual. You make your own choice to be there, and you can control how far you go, what you do, and where you bring yourself into. I would like to invite you to use this coming hour, or maybe even less than an hour, but this coming presentation to feel within yourself if this resonates with you, what is being told, and if you feel something, that is not for me maybe, then maybe it's good to decide to not do that. And if you hear something, oh, that sounds interesting, that's maybe something that would be good for you. Try to use this presentation to find in yourself what suits your way of action to keep up the marathon, what I talked about for climate activism. There is, of course, a possibility that stuff will happen that is not so nice. I would like to invite you to not make rash decisions. So this quite impressive picture actually tells you that the most dangerous decisions are made when we try to snatch victory from the claws of defeat. Well, a very big sentence with big words. But I would like to interpret that as that you should not, really fight for something. We are not an army conquering a street or something. We are there to have an action, to stop fossil subsidies. We don't know what will happen during the day or during the week or during the month or months that we are there. But the safety is paramount. And you have to accept that the action itself on that day, maybe that hour, might fail. Maybe we fail to reach the tunnelbak, for instance. That is quite okay. Do not fight for it. And we just return another day. We will keep pushing on that button to stop fossil subsidies. As I said before, it is really good to make up a plan beforehand, what you want to do, where your boundaries are. And you are not a bad activist if you find that boundary and then leave the action. Actually, that makes you a very good activist. It inspires other people to also control their boundaries and maybe leave if they want to. So you create safety and opportunity for others. And you will be, it's very nice to have you again another day if you still have the energy to go. How do you make that decision? You trust your gut. You try to decide beforehand what is your boundary, and where that is, you feel it. We come to a few practical things about safety. Before the action, it's maybe a good idea to, when you travel towards The Hague, to not have too many visible XR logos, not carrying already flags in the train. In a way, you're just having a nice day visiting the city. Then you have met the rest of your finger on the meeting spot in The Hague. There you got together with everyone.
Mark, sorry, can I ask you something?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe for people that are new to this action, can you explain what a finger is?
Oh, very good question, yes. I'll explain what a finger is. We are thousands and thousands of people moving onto the A12, and it's actually very difficult to meet up with thousands and thousands of people. So we try to divide this up in smaller groups. If everything went all right, you have been assigned to what we call a finger. That's a group of between, let's say, 30 or 100 people that is coordinating things together. If you are not in a finger yet, you might send a message. Where can they send a message to, actually?
I think it's best to go to the Telegram. And in the Telegram, you can find a link to a form that you can fill in. If you fill in that form, you get assigned to a finger.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we still process those forms. Yeah, great. Okay, if there's any trouble with finding the finger, you process the form in the Telegram group. So this is a smaller group with which you move in the morning towards the A12 action. If at some point you've reached the A12 action, then you might stick with your finger or you might not, but it's good to have a way to travel together within The Hague. While moving to the blockade, so you have met the rest of your finger, you stay with your finger. That is for safety, of course. You do not run, and you might meet other fingers, other groups of people, hundreds of people. It's a very emotional thing. You see your own group and then others from another street come, and from another street other groups come, and they all come together. If fingers merge, that's really nice. Just go with the new, bigger group together to the A12. It's repeated again on the slide. Do not run. It keeps yourself calmer. It also keeps other people calm. Then you've reached the A12. It's fantastic. We are there in the tunnelbak, or maybe somewhere else, wherever you got with your finger. Then it's good to try to keep the middle part of the highway free. Some people would like to move a bit quicker through the crowd, maybe first aid people or well-being people, and it's nice to keep the middle part of the highway clear. It says also, do not try to break through a police line. That is also an important thing. We will be calm. We want to go to the tunnelbak, and we see how far we go. If there's a police line blocking it, then it must stop there, but we will try again. Then the police might want us to leave. That has been so the last few times, and we have no idea to predict what that method of making us leave will be. The last few times, of course, there was a water cannon. It could be that, but it could be something else. Do not stress too much beforehand about what that might be and make all kinds of different plans. Try to be calm and resilient in yourself. Maybe follow a rule like, okay, I see how far I go. If there is something coming towards me from the police, whatever that is, I do not need to make a plan for every detail. If it's something that I think, okay, I can stop this, maybe 5 police officers are walking towards you, and you think, okay, I'd like to block this, then you sit down. Or maybe there's a water cannon moving. Maybe if you feel inclined to want to stop a water cannon, you can sit down. That's the only method to stop something. You do not push or you use your elbows. You can always sit down. The other strategy, of course, if something from the police comes towards you that you don't feel like blocking, you can move further away. And maybe other people move forward that feel inclined to block that thing. And maybe there's no one that feels the power to block that thing, and then you all move away. That's fine. We are with a rather large group, and with thousands and thousands of people, it might be a little bit difficult to communicate together. So we have found a few, how do you call them, hand signals. The first is the silent giraffe. You do like this. Is this still in the, yeah. You do like this. If you see this happening, you imitate it. So someone next to you is doing this, then you do this yourself, and you stop talking or singing. Other people will imitate you, and it will be silent over a large area soon. Do not abuse this. Try not to make it silent all the time, but sometimes this is really necessary. Then there's another hand signal, and that is this one. Am I still where? Yeah. Trying to see how far it's still in the picture. It's like this, and that means sit down. So then you try to sit down on the seat. Of course, if you have something in your body that you cannot sit, you can stay standing. But for some reason, it is important to sit down then. Then I'd like to go to the fourth point of the bullet points first. There's make a corridor that goes like this. If people do this, you imitate this, and of course this generates, and you move a little bit away. This generates a path. This is good for people that need to leave the action. There might be handicapped people, there might be small children, there might be an emergency.
Maybe, Mark, it's good to add that there's also, we have XR families. A lot of families with small children are also joining, and especially for them, of course, it's important that if they want to leave the action, they have enough room.
Yeah, a very nice addition. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's of course a really spannend. Is that exciting? Very exciting if you bring your children, and we try to create more safety to give them the opportunity to quickly leave, might the parents deem that necessary. This is the signal for make a corridor. I quickly touch on mic check.
Mic check.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Before you do that, I wanted to say this is also very important so the safety services can go on. Ambulances and fire brigade, if necessary, we always let them pass. And don't forget to close the corridor right after they passed, just in case something else is trying to come in the blockade.
Yeah,
like a police car.
Yeah, very good point indeed. There is a we had this last time that an ambulance went through the crowd.
It was quite impressive how we made the corridor in 2 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the water can try to sneak in, so that's why we urge you to close it up. After it's used.
Great. I think everyone understood this. Great point. It's indeed a beautiful moment if you see everyone moving to open up a corridor. Close this right behind it again. I quickly touch on the topic of mic check. It goes like this. Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
Mic check.
If people want to leave.
If people want to leave.
This would be the last opportunity.
This will be the last opportunity.
So if someone uses mic check, others will repeat the message. And in this way, it can spread through a crowd. We found out the last A12 actions that this doesn't work so well when we are really like the tens of thousands of people.
We're getting too big, I think.
We're getting too big.
Okay, so maybe the easiest is to keep an eye on your Telegram. And of course on the signal group of your own finger.
Exactly, yeah.
Maybe the best, but you never know.
You never know, no. And maybe you end up with a smaller group in some other part of The Hague because you got blocked or whatever. So the mic check system is good to know, but keep a check on the Signal and Telegram groups. I'd like to talk a little bit about de-escalation. De-escalation is when there's tensions are rising high and you'd like to make the tensions a little bit lower. And mostly this is talked about in connection with bystanders. So other people visiting our action out of curiosity, or maybe they have a strong opinion about it, and they are there. It's good to know that you might think people come that do not agree our action, but you might not actually know this. Try to open your heart, not jump to prejudices. Just if someone looks like a subculture that is totally not yours, and that doesn't mean that they are strange or an enemy. Everyone is people. Everyone has their own insecurities, their fears about the future, and there might be more connection than you think. That is a basic attitude that I'd like to share with you. As a consequence, be friendly to people in general. Try to be interested in their views even. And if you have a conversation, it can quickly lead to connection if you find words for your own feelings. You could maybe share how scared you are of the future, or how worried you are for your grandchildren. This is an easy way to connect because those worries and fears are felt in almost all parts of society, of course. On the other hand, if you do not want to engage in conversation because you feel scared or you are a bit insecure, you don't feel grounded, then of course you do not need to engage in conversation with anyone. As I said, it is about the safety of the action. If there's a lot of tensions, we could try to lower the tensions by showing the escalating behavior, to use the big words again. We have a small crew of rebels that are specially trained in de-escalation to try to defuse very complex or scary conflicts. They wear light blue vests. If you see or experience such a complicated conflict, you could try to find light blue vests to help. But as always, you can also leave that situation. If it's too much for you, you move just somewhere else.
Yeah, if the escalation doesn't work, it's good to get a police liaison and let them know, so they can make contact with the police and ask the police to remove those people. But this is the last case scenario.
Yeah. Great addition. Yeah, that you can always ask the police liaison.
Maybe they have a certain color vest. And
Police liaisons wear purple.
Purple. Purple vests.
Yeah. So many colors to remember, people. We had light blue for de-escalation, purple for police liaison, and I will go to well-being in a bit. There might be an emergency where it's deemed that we should leave wherever we are. When you hear scatter, scatter, then you just walk away from wherever you are. It's maybe good to not all walk away in the same direction, but just spread out in all kinds of random reactions. And your finger will, the finger that we talked about earlier, will have a designated meeting spot. You can then you scatter, so you walk away, and then you move to the spot where your finger meets. You meet your friends where you started the day with again, and you can find out what you will do from there. Maybe if there was a scatter situation, it might be very good to, with all the people, just gather in some park a little bit farther away, have a drink, and hug each other. This was quite something. We've talked about different extreme situations, and I might imagine that you are now there at home watching this presentation, or maybe later on YouTube even, but that this makes you a little bit tense actually. Like the situation on the picture, when you are in the middle of that, will also make you feel tense. That is a good thing to experience, to practice a little bit with that. What do you do with all that tension that is in your body? We will see here a few tips to, let's say, release the tension a little bit. The first thing is to actually notice it, give it attention. You can talk about it with your body. You could name it to tame it is an expression. You can breathe in. We could maybe, if you are watching this, practice this together with me. So you breathe in and breathe out. This is actually super helpful for me because I'm pretty impressed by all this electronics and professional studio around me. So it makes me a little bit relaxed too. Touch might help. I really like this position, for instance. Some people like to rub themselves a little bit. You notice yourself again. And of course you can move. You can move your arms, stretch a bit. You can dance. Sorry, directors. And of course, singing helps. We actually might spread some more song text. Isn't there a songbook in the works? So yeah, so that's good to sing songs. Actions are really a lot to experience. There is quite some emotions. You might be very happy, very happy. Oh, it's amazing that we are here. Or maybe super scared. There is a big here a big piece of metal with Polizei on it. Not the most friendly thing to encounter, and you have all kinds of emotions with you. Therefore, I encourage you, like I said before, to find your boundaries. Try to decide on them beforehand, before the action, and talk about it. When you are with your body, you can say, hey, I decided to go to the action, but as soon as we find police officers that say you have to go away, I'd actually like to leave. Okay, if that's your plan, great. If I go to the action, I would like to sit there as long as I can. Okay, great, and it is your boundary. It's good to know that of each other and to help each other guard their own boundaries. Of course, it is very practical to find a body that has about the similar boundaries that you have yourself. It's also good to do a COVID test before the action. We would not like to infect other people. And try to pack the stuff. There will be a link in the Telegram group that has a packing list. And I'd like to draw your special attention to water and sunscreen and maybe something to cover your head. There will be loads of sun and very hot. You should really take care of your own food and water for the day. And for water, 2 liters would be completely normal.
Maybe that because we are staying there permanently.
Yeah, permanently.
So preparing for the night also, and maybe bring a tent or sleeping bag.
Great, yeah.
Because we're going to stay there as long as it takes. We don't know if it's going to work out like that, but
yeah, exactly, yeah.
prepared.
Exactly, because really everything is great that you mentioned it, because anything is uncertain. We actually do not know how the police will react. That they reacted by removing us all the last time doesn't mean that they will remove us immediately this time. And if you need something for the night and you are capable to take that with you, it would actually be a great idea. Right before the action, it's good to be a little bit prepared for things that are more difficult in the action. Make sure you have had a decent breakfast that is suited to you, and be hydrated. This is interesting because that says on the slide not too much. That of course means that a toilet is not always easy to reach. But on the other hand, I would like to drink drink enough because it's such a hot day. Try to find your own equilibrium in that. Poop. That is really something that you should try to do before the action. It is highly impractical, although not impossible, but highly impractical during the action. And try to ground yourself. Maybe with your finger you can find a moment where everyone is conscious how your feet touch the soil, how your body feels. Take a deep breath, maybe touch your body. Then during the action, try to keep checking in with yourself. It is so easy to get swept up with the unimaginable big thing that we are doing. There's so much sound, so much to see. Pa-ta-ta, pumped up, pumped up, pumped up. Where am I? What do I actually feel? Where's my body? Keep checking in with yourself. Am I having serious fun, or am I actually approaching panic? It's very good to know that of yourself. Try to stick to your boundaries. We talked about this before. And respect other people's boundaries. Try not to, if people, I feel super unhappy here, maybe I want to leave. Try not to keep pressure. Hey, we need you here, you must stay, you must stay. No, it's really, okay, great. If you want to leave, absolutely make place for them, help them to leave, or whatever other people's boundaries are. Boundaries might also be that some people don't like to be touched, or some people would like to be left alone a little bit. Other people need to be talked to, respectfully engage. There will be some, which is called here the fog of civil disobedience. This is not like a super prepared school trip. This is not a holiday camp. This is a serious disruptive action. And with that comes so much uncertainty. There's this, which is called the fog here. There is no fixed way of how stuff is. There is a lot of uncertainty, and I'd like to invite you to, during the action, just accept it. Accept that you cannot oversee the whole process or predict everything. Then, at some point, you will have left the action. Hopefully because fossil subsidies have been stopped, or maybe because the police has removed you from the action, or because your grandmother had her birthday and you'd really like to visit her. If you have left the action, really take the time to rest. In all the adrenaline, it's a logical thing to say, but in all the adrenaline, it's sometimes easy to forget that. Talk about whatever you have seen, heard, and done on the action. And with your finger, the finger that we talked about before, a debrief will be organized. Those are facilitated by special debriefers, and it's very nice to share whatever you have done, and it will also help other people to hear you sharing, so you are also helping others by coming there, and you will be helped by hearing from others. And we all learn from this, because ideas and suggestions from debriefs are the source of development of XR. Everything that we do now has at some point in the past been invented in a debrief. So much to say, and so many things go through your head probably now. Maybe you can try again the stuff that I talked about earlier, to try to relax a little bit. Maybe if you are with your finger watching the presentation, maybe you can all stand up now and shake a little bit your body hug others, feel your feet on the ground. And this is something that you can do during the action as well. I think I have reached the stuff that I want to say. If I check this, yeah, great.
Thanks a lot, Mark, for your beautiful presentation.
Yay!
This is what we always say. It is actually the core of Extinction Rebellion. Well-being, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well-being of all living beings on the planet. So that's the most important thing. So
yeah.
Thanks a lot. There was some question about the signal for the corridor.
Yeah.
And somebody said, Savannah doing a suggestion, and she said that in the well-being briefing, another hand signal for make a corridor was shared.
Oh.
It was more like an air hostess showing the emergency exits.
An air hostess showing the... Oh, that would be like... can I stand up? Is that okay? I think people are... Yeah. So that would be something like this, I guess. And this.
I think so.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. Let's then come to some kind of compromise. If you see someone doing this, we make space. If you see someone doing this or this, we also make space. Maybe we can come to that. Yeah.
And there was also a question, maybe Denise can say something about it, about telephones. Is it wise, maybe also from a legal perspective, to shut off your phone, or is it not?
Yes, so it's important to, first of all, please do turn off your phone before you get arrested if you can. We asked anonymous people to not bring their phone in the legal training. That's because they might be confiscated. So then, yes, some people will not have their phones, and it's important to keep in mind that not everybody will be able to check Telegram. So we have to make use of the megaphones and mic checks as much as we can, and then for the rest, we're going to count on Telegram, I guess.
That's clear, thank you. I think we go to the next part, and that's the actual action plan. Yes, dear rebels, the action plan. And before I go into that, it's maybe good to say that we're trying to keep this briefing as short as possible. So we hope to be finished a little bit before 9:30. So the well-being and safety part was actually the largest part. So now we're going to the action plan and the legal part. And as said before, it's really simple, and we keep it simple. We did it as simple as this from the beginning, and we keep it this way until we have won. We start out at 12 o'clock at the Malieveld, where you go with your finger. And it's important to know there's a festival going on there. It's a so-called Tong Tong Fair, formerly known as the Pasar Malam. So all of the Malieveld is closed off for the big part. So keep that in mind. But there should be enough room for everybody to stay on the side next to the A12 at a little bit before 12 o'clock. And then you step at 12 o'clock, we step on the A12 and go into the direction of the House of Representatives and the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate to the so-called tunnel box. You see here a view from another point, Malieveld. So you go through under the trees, go onto the A12. Note that you keep the bicycle path free, and also the little road to the right that you see without the arrows. And that's also for traffic. And also, for example, emergency services to be able to pass by. So we're going to only take this part, the part next to the Malieveld, and we're going direction out of the city to the tunnel box, because that's our target.
Lucas, can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Really great. Because I see, if I can see the other slide again, I see purple arrows moving there. But let's say if you are on the purple arrow left of it, there's also a direction of cars, the direction of cars that are moving towards the city, I guess. Should we not walk there?
No, that's a good question. You see here what Mark means. The left part, so that's the part that's going into the city from the A12 to the city, to the traffic lights at the left bottom. we keep that part untouched until we are at the target, the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate. Because that are cars that are still driving, and from the other side there's a traffic light, so they stop and they pull up, and when they stop you can safely cross the street there. And what is also really important, of course, is safety. So don't just walk without looking onto the street. Be really careful. Also for example, bicycles and other traffic that is still driving there. Safety is, of course, really important, so keep that in mind. And I can't stress enough that it's also really important to stay peaceful. As Mark just said, it might be possible there's a line of police officers standing. We're not going to break through any police line, and we're not even touching police, not even with the finger. So we're completely non-violent. And that way we can never be wrong, so to speak. And here's the actual target. The last 2 times we didn't make it to here because there was a police line before that, this part. But this is actually where we want to have a demonstration and our sound be heard. And we also are completely in our rights to be there. Because there's the most important Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate, and of course the Parliament. So that's where we have to be. So if we're there, we just relax. We're not running, we're just walking. And if we're there, we just sit down and wait for the decision to be made to stop all fossil fuel subsidies. Staying overnight, of course, because we will stay there until a demand has been met. That can take a long time, and we should be prepared. So take a tent if you have one. Maybe you can share a tent with your buddy, sleeping bag, extra food, extra water, etc. And put the sentence, do first, think later. Of course, we should all think about what we do beforehand. But I think it's also important to accept there's a lot of uncertainties. And most important is that we now rise up peacefully and do what is necessary to stop fossil fuel subsidies. So that means that we have to accept a lot of uncertainties, and we can't prepare for everything because there are millions of possibilities that might happen. And I think, looking at what we saw before with Extinction Rebellion, that there's a lot of resilience and a lot of improvisation in the movement to make just things happen if needed. So maybe a little bit of trust and just go for it is, I think, a good attitude to start this journey. Extinction is forever. We have with Extinction Rebellion an important thing that we always say, and it is tell the truth and act as if the truth is real. We are in a real climate emergency. There are really people dying already, and it's going to get a lot worse, and this is a reality we must face, and we should design our actions accordingly. So this is not about raising attention to the climate. This is about an emergency and about a demand, and that is stop all fossil fuel subsidies immediately. Because that is a real thing that has to happen if we want to have a reasonable chance for a livable planet for everybody. Everything is at stake. We're called Extinction Rebellion, and that's for a reason. So we should think accordingly in what we do, peacefully, but really determined and with the eyes on the ball, so to speak. And we saw in this campaign, this will be the 7th time we will block the A12, and we seen it getting bigger and bigger. We started out with like maybe 40, 50 people in July last year, and we expect now we're with 10,000 people. And that shows us, I think, that we can do it. And it is possible. It is no dream. We can do it. And in a certain way, if you don't give up, we will win. because we're getting bigger and bigger. As long as we stay peaceful and keep the atmosphere happy, we only grow. So that is a thing to keep in mind. Just let's not give up and continue until we win. And I think we're getting there really close. Yesterday, sorry, it was a report published with new numbers about the fossil fuel subsidies, and it was a staggering $37.5 billion euros per year, and it's amazing. And I think everybody sort of agrees that this should stop as soon as possible. And actually, Minister Rob Jetten, he admitted that the numbers were right. So that means that the cabinet has to act, and they have to act fast because we are growing and we will win. This was the action part.
It's your thing, I think.
Yes.
Were there any questions?
Yes, I was looking at questions as well. There's a question about turning off phones again. Yeah, our advice is to turn off the phones while you're getting arrested, so you can save it to the last minute, but try to make it a bit guaranteed and try to turn it off before police takes it from you. But until then, I think, it's necessary to have phones. I see that people, finger leaders, want to communicate with the back office and the other rebels, and all of this communication obviously happens with phones, so you can keep them on until you're going to get arrested.
Okay. And what's also really important maybe to stress is that, of course, everybody is in a finger. And we just got a question about the form also. That some people are not able to fill in the form. And it's mostly when using an iPhone. And the advice is to try filling out the form on a laptop or a computer. And also this is a really broad perspective on the action. But more detailed briefing and detailed information, where to meet, etc., will be shared in your finger, and you can also discuss all those things with your finger. Maybe it is time to go to the legal part, Denise.
Indeed, let's do it.
Yeah, are you ready?
Yeah. Hello, as usual, I have the least fun part. So we just talked about arrestee forms. Indeed, make sure you fill in an arrestee form. This information will be used to keep you safe. Arrestee support back office will be keeping track of where you are and whether you're released. Also, we just mentioned phones, so I wanted to add one more thing. It's not on the slide, but it's important to close your notification previews. So make it in a way that nobody can really look at your phone and see the messages pop up. But just make sure you hide your notifications. And also turn off the fingerprint recognition and face recognition as well. And this is precaution for under detention, but we will come to that. Be mentally prepared. I mean, this part was covered really well by Mark, but getting arrested is not a small thing, so think about it really well, and remember that there are other ways to contribute to the movement, and getting arrested is really not the only way. Right before the action, write the arrestee number on your body and lawyer's name. The number is not necessary because it's known to the police. And write the arrestee support phone number, just in case.
Please, maybe people want to know where they can get that arrestee number.
They will be shared in the broadcast by you, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And it's a link to a number site where you can press in get number, they get the number.
Yeah.
And that is your arrestee number.
Yes, all this information will be shared probably repeatedly over the week, and I think it's already shared, but that will be repeated because we really find it important that we know where people are and we keep track of our rebels. And again, do not risk arrest if you do not feel prepared. During the action, remember the action consensus, we're a non-violent movement, we will always be non-violent with our words and deeds. Do not talk to the police, and also be mindful that they might be listening. So if you're talking to a friend and the police is nearby, maybe try to really manage what you're talking about. And then again, do not call people by their names because some might be anonymous. Try to call them with their arrestee numbers or their action names if you know them. And yeah, again, watch out for each other. In case police uses excessive force, usually the marginalized groups are mostly targeted, or also there are more vulnerable rebels, like rebels with disabilities. And it's really important to keep an eye on each other. So if things go wrong, you realize that the police might be using excessive force, try to film it. If you're not comfortable doing that, because the police sometimes doesn't like that, if you don't feel comfortable, step back, zoom in, and still film. But if it's really stressful for you, don't do it, but find someone else to film. Like this is really, really important because if something goes wrong, this way we will have proof. And police must give 3 warnings before arrest. And this means if you don't feel comfortable during the action, you will have time to leave. You will have more than 1 opportunities to leave. And this is usually how it goes because police wants us to leave. They don't want to arrest everyone, so they will keep doing these warnings until more and more people leave. At least they hope they will.
Denise, sorry, can I ask a question about that warning system?
Yeah.
So if I would not want to be arrested, and if I just go on the A12 and with the whole action, and then wait until the warnings and then leave, am I then certain that I'm not going to be arrested?
I can never guarantee anything 100%,
yeah.
But there's a big chance, yes, you could get on the highway and you could leave when the warnings happen and you won't get arrested and there will be no consequences. So this is a big possibility, and I'm saying this counting on the numbers. But then again, no guarantee. We never really know, and we don't want to put anyone in a situation where they are not prepared to. Okay, so how will the arrest go? And then again, this is how the procedure goes, but because we have a lot of numbers and we're really overwhelming them lately, they don't always follow this procedure one by one. But we do. So arrestee liaisons will communicate with the back office, so your number will be... they will collect numbers, and the number will be known to the back office, so they will know that you got arrested, and the same happens during the release. Okay, so if it goes to the procedure, you will be transported to the police station, and you will be checked in, and then you will be held up to 6 hours. And yeah, this is what we're expecting, but I will come to that in a bit. We expect people to be held maximum of 6 hours, but then again, because we're big in numbers, police tries to fast track it. Last time we were taken to somewhere, a stadium in Amsterdam, and then we were immediately released, which was weird legally, but that's how it went in practice, so this is what you should know. Okay, and if you're anonymous, you might be held up to 12 hours. But then again, if there are lots of anonymous people, it's really hard for police to deal with that, so they will let everyone go. And then when you're under detention, you have a right to food, you have a right to drink, you can ask for water, you can ask for a doctor if you need to, let's hope not. And you can also ask for medication. So for basic medications like painkillers, you can also put them in your bag and try to ask the police to give it to you if you need it. But in that case, like that's really, they do it unofficially because they don't want to deal with calling the doctors. So, but even then, because they have to know what they're giving to you, it's important to have it in the foil, in its original box. And if you're not anonymous, even with your doctor's name on it, would be the most guaranteed way. Yeah, and of course you can go to the toilet whenever you need to, and yeah, if they give you hard time for these very basic needs, insist, please. Okay, and then at some point you will be called to interrogation. During the interrogation, you have a right to a translator if you do not speak Dutch, and they will tell you that you can waive the right to see the lawyer, and actually this could be beneficial for both in an ironic way. So we tell people that it's good to waive the right if it's a C offense, if everything is going accordingly, if there is nothing going bad. But then again, obviously back office and our lawyer is there for you. So if you realize that you're suspected of a B offense, which we will come to in a bit, if you're a minor, let the lawyer know. And if anything goes wrong, basically, we are there for you. So do not hesitate to call the lawyer if you need to, but you don't need the lawyer automatically. That's what I'm trying to say. And then again, during the interrogation, try not to criminalize yourself. Actually, do not try. Just say no comment to any questions asked, and you will be not criminalizing yourself. Questions might sound really simple, and but sometimes there are secret questions in between the questions, and you do not want to give them any information that they do not have. And sometimes they are a little bit messy with documentation, especially when the numbers are high. So make sure that you do not tell them anything that they don't know. And do not sign for anything. This is about to release. Yeah. So we come to the release. Do not sign for anything. But if you are having a hard time saying no, especially to the police, I understand that feeling. Just put an X. Just don't do your own signature. Or put an XR sign. If you receive any documents from the police, send them to XRNL Legal Proton Mail. And if anything goes wrong with the police, and if you have any unpleasant videos with the police, with authorities, then send them to xrnl-policygeweld@protonmail.com. And this is to collect that proof I just mentioned. In your release, there will be arrestee support with soup, warm drinks, and yummies. So you will be welcomed nicely. Talk about your experience with your close ones, and if you don't, and if you really feel like talking about it, especially if things went badly, there are XR therapists that you can contact. Okay, so what are we really doing legally here? I saved this to the last because it's a little bit more complicated. We're going to violate the VOM 11, probably. We're not sure because sometimes we get charged with different things, and public prosecution just tries different things.
Can you explain what the VOM is?
VOM is Wet Openbare Manifestatie. Would you like to pronounce it for me?
Yeah, come on, Lucas.
Thank you. Yeah, it's basically the law that is regulating protests, and it's not the biggest law. There is law above the law. There is constitution and there is European law. So because you're violating the VOM doesn't mean you're a criminal automatically. That's not how it works. But yeah, please follow a legal training as soon as possible if you want to know more about this. Okay, so what's going to happen then? It's a C offense, which means a minor offense. So it's not a crime. And with C offenses, you can be held up to 6 hours. Except if you're anonymous, then it's 12 hours, and it has a very, very limited impact on VOG. But aside from that, we actually don't expect any follow-up from the public prosecution because they admitted that these cases are going nowhere, and we're also getting lots of acquittals when we get to the courts. So we don't expect anything to happen. But if you're aware of the latest verdict on incitement or sedition, I'm not operating. Can you? Yeah? Would you like to pronounce it for me?
Like you said.
So since the last verdict, our lawyer is suspecting that they might start trying things. And if they try things, this is how it usually goes. They select a couple of people, 5, 7, 10, not too much, very little compared to the total amount of people there. They select a couple of people and then they take them to the court. For a more serious offense, that would be a B offense, which is a crime. But then again, we had been in those situations before. We have the best lawyers, and you will receive support at every step. And then again, this is just a guess. And I'm telling this because there is a little chance of this happening. And if this happens, I don't want anyone to caught unprepared. So I wanted to mention this possibility. Yeah, but because we are big in numbers, we don't expect a lot of follow-up. It's not going to be practical for them. Okay, I'm at the end. I didn't forget English. I came to the end. Okay, well, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Denise, for really clear presentation. I think there's hardly any questions, so I think that's a good sign.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah.
Actually, we have like hundreds of questions coming in, but not that many. But there's one tip from somebody who says, when you see police violence happening to somebody else, ask their police number of the police officer, so they can be traced back and of course film this.
Yeah, unfortunately, police doesn't like that question, and that can lead to some unpleasant consequences as well. So this is why we're not advising this strongly. But I mean, try, especially if you're more of a privileged person in this society, do try. And if you're going to try this, record it, so there will also be a recording of them denying giving their number. To my experience, I never managed to get any badge numbers by now.
Okay.
I asked a couple of times and then I gave up.
But still record it anyway. So,
record it.
Yeah.
Record it
Okay.
for sure. And I mean, yeah, it's a good idea to ask the badge number and have that on recording.
No.
Just don't expect that they will be like, okay, yeah, this is my badge number. They don't do that, and actually we're in contact with our lawyer about this because somehow they weren't aware of this, our lawyer. So we're going to make them aware, and we're going to maybe start filling in some complaints. It's one of the most important safeguards you have, to know who is dealing with you, because they have a lot of power and they should also be held accountable. And this is exactly the issue here. And they should also be wearing it on them. So we'll see how this will go. But for now, this is where it stands.
Okay, thank you.
I'd really like to this is exactly my experience. I've also several times tried to ask numbers, also in really calm situations where the police was not in panic, but they always have refused it. And the personal accountability is, of course, a big debate now that we talk about demonstratierecht, whatever that might be in English, the right to protest, and police violence that we experience. All these complaint procedures that then stop because, oh, we cannot find the police officer, we have no idea. But I would like to emphasize again, especially if this is your first action, or you feel really scared, and just let it go, maybe walk away. But if you feel empowered, well, maybe if you are, you know, a white male in his 50s,
Exactly.
And you feel up to it. So yes, I do actually try to profit from this and engage it. It would be nice.
Yeah, maybe in addition, we're trying to also make the complaints procedure easier for rebels, so we can file in more complaints and maybe get some more outcomes.
Oh yeah, cool.
There will be a flyer circling around on A12 about complaints.
This weekend?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
And there will also be bust cards for legal information.
Bust cards? What is that?
Bust card is like a summary of legal information that we had prepared, and they were in circulation for a bit, but not as much as we would like to. So now they're going to be on A12. There's going to be a lot of bust.
Oh, fantastic.
Super.
Yeah.
There was some adjustment to be made. I just told the RST form is not shared via Telegram. It's via the fingers. So that is one thing to keep in mind. So you will get that via your finger. There's another question from Sophia. Do non-Dutch speakers have a right to translate for all languages, or only English?
No, all languages.
All languages,
yeah.
Okay. And maybe can you tell something about lots of people are going floppy. We always say don't resist with force. You don't resist, you just get floppy. Can you maybe...
yeah, of course. Well, passive resistance only, that's the rule. We never actively resist arrest. We never use our muscles actively against the police, and that's not running, also a part of it. So that's really important.
Yeah. Okay.
And, well, also, I also want to add this. If you don't feel comfortable doing that, just because everybody's doing that, you don't have to. Because in the process, they might also hurt people. And if you see that, and if you don't feel up to it, it's completely fine to just walk with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, really nice addition.
Maybe we come to an end. It's almost 9:30. I still have some last sheets to share. I will get to that later. And I think I don't get back to this table. So thanks a lot, Denise and Mark.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you have any questions, people, you can share those in your finger, or maybe even here. I will get to the latest sheet, and then we see each other on the A12. Just
On the
a moment.
A12. Woohoo!
Yes, just to finish this briefing, one more thing, and that is also, Denise also talked a little bit about it, going anonymous or not. And there are a lot of pros and a lot of cons. In the end, it's your own call, and it's a personal choice if you go anonymous or not. There will be a document shared later on with all the pros and cons of going anonymous, and then you can make your own decision. Talk about it with the people in your finger, with your fellow rebels, what they do, what their experience is, and you can make the right decision for yourself. Before we go to the checklist, that will also be shared, by the way, in the Telegram or in your finger. One more thing to say, and we said it already a few times before, Mark also. If you don't feel comfortable, if you're doubting, don't be ashamed just to drop everything, turn around and leave. Extinction Rebellion, or we, Mark or Denise, nobody is going to ask you to get arrested. It should be, when you do that, your own choice. Lots of people will do that, but everybody has his role to play, and if you're not ready for it, just don't do it, and just leave if you're not ready for it. So that should always be in your mind. And we go on. We will be back the next day until our demand is met. So there will be a lot of opportunities if you want to do it one time to come back later on. We have a sort of a checklist. What is also really important to do in action training, that is really a recommendation. There are some trainings this week, so you can still do it. Join the broadcast channel via the broadcast Telegram. You can join the finger. We have the briefing. You can get the legal handout, the action consensus, and of course decide what you're going to do. Are you going to risk arrest? Are you going to stay until the end, so to speak, or going to leave early? Things to think about it before, to set your boundaries. And on September 9th, write the RST number on your body. That will be shared, that you get via the finger. The RST support number, and of course the lawyer's number. And those will all be shared. And don't forget to pack and be prepared for a long haul. How to proceed? Discuss all the questions in your finger, if you have any. And don't forget, it's a really bad situation. But experience of myself, and I think a lot of people, is that it's really heartwarming to go into resistance together, into non-violent civil disobedience. It's really something, and it's a really powerful feeling to do this with so many people for the good cause, for everybody on the planet. And that is really, I think it can give a lot of energy, and it can also make the movement grow. So let's also enjoy it, how bad it might be. And in the end, what we've seen so far, always that Extinction Rebellion keeps on growing. And as long as we are staying peacefully, we will win. And we do it every time we do an action. We get bigger, we get more support. So this will be a matter of time, and let's make it happen together. Thanks a lot for joining, for taking your time, and we see each other next Saturday, 12 o'clock. I think we have a nice song that was recorded for especially the blockade and the support demo, and I think we might be going to listen to it. So enjoy, and see you Saturday.
Woohoo!
Yeah. I was dreaming my dreaming of an aspect bright and fair, and my sleeping, it was broken, but my dream, it lingered near, in the form of shining valleys where the pure air recognized, and my senses newly opened, I awakened to the cry that the people have the power to redeem the work of fools upon the meek, the grace of shower. It's the creed the people rule. People have the power. People have the power. Oh, people have the power. People have the power. Vengeful aspects became suspect and bending low as if to hear. And the armies ceased advancing because the people had their ear. And then the shepherds and the soldiers, and then they lay below the stars, exchanging visions, laying arms to waste in the dust, in the form of shining valleys where the pure air recognized, and my senses newly opened, I awakened to the cry. People have the power. People have the power. People have the power. Where there were deserts, I saw fountains, and like cream, the waters rise, and we stroll there together with none to laugh or criticize. And the